Hey there, friends. How's it going again? It's me, again. But today I just had a brief discussion. I was actually amidst doing some things and I came across something that caught my eye on my feed on YouTube, and it was about a X-class solar flare. And I thought, oh boy, is the sun waking up? And I can't help but be excited when the sun puts off a solar flare. But you know, the sun's been really quiet, and it's been in the minimum for at least the last, 10 years or so. It seems like it hasn't been that long, but actually, I think it goes in 11-year cycles, but I'm not sure if that's the full cycle. At any rate, there hasn't been a lot of action from the sun over the last several years, and lately they've had a couple M class and then a new X class solar flare. And I'll read what's going on to those of you who are novice to this, but I know a lot of people are followers of what's going on with the sun. And I do watch Suspicious Observer in the morning sometimes. I haven't seen what he has today, but or if he's mentioned it, but it says Earth orbiting satellites have just detected an X1 class solar flare from Earth facing sunspot AR 2887. The blast created a massive tsunami of plasma in the sun's atmosphere. The blast also hurled a CME into space. Coronagraph images are not yet available, but evidence for a CME is already persuasive. The USAF reports strong Type 2 and Type 4 radio emissions generated by a CME plowing through the sun's atmosphere. In addition, energetic particles accelerated at the leading edge of a CME have already reached Earth. During the flare, uh, a pulse of X-rays and extreme UV radiation ionized the top of the Earth's atmosphere, causing a strong shortwave radio blackout centered in South America. Sunspot may not be finished yet. It's already produced two M-class flares and an X flare today. The active region is directly facing Earth, so any additional eruptions should be geoeffective. So I don't really have the patience or time or even full understanding to go into the sun earth electrical or connection, any type of connections that they have, which other channels can definitely explain better. But as kind of a novice, I've always been fascinated with these things. Now, I think what really got my attention, and that probably a lot of you have heard of, was the Carrington event in 1859, I believe it was. Yeah, 1859. The Carrington event, because it was I believe, an astronomer, Carrington, who discovered what was going on. But there was a massive sunspot facing Earth, and it erupted, and there was a huge solar flare. This solar flare at the time sent basically caused, it's hard to explain, but it sends electrical signals through the wires. The longer the wires are, the worse. It's almost like harmonics. The more that they will become electrified, and telegraph operators were shocked. And at one point, they were able to disconnect their battery from the telegraph line and just send signals because the lines were charged naturally. So when there's a major flare, it can cause major ground currents, which work in interesting ways. Let's just put it that way. It's better explained by an engineer than me. But some of the telegraph lines caught fire. Some of the little, places had sparks and issues. This was just telegraph lines because that's all we had at the time. There were no power lines, there were no power plants, nothing like that. If something like that were to happen today, it would be curtains for years to come while we rebuilt. And they say that these happen every couple hundred years on average. So, it's been 150 years, and it can happen at any time. So it's always been a fascination of mine because I don't want to really see this happen. At one time, my thing has always been be prepared for the worst. And when people talk about a decline of society, or how, there might be wars over here, or maybe a virus or pestilence, or, food shortages, whatever it might be, in the back of my mind is always that solar flare, because that is the one thing that would really take us down a notch quickly. I don't know if we'd ever recover, to be honest, and I think it would really depend. But many of the transformers we use for our emission lines are, they're very hard to build. They take years to build, and there's only a couple in stock. So, with all that said, it's not a fear thing, just so much as being fascinated with the sun, and I hope that it's funny because I have mixed feelings. One, I like seeing the sun awake. I know that the sun and the earth are connected, and I know that there is a relationship there and a cycle which has to happen. But at the same time, it would be devastating to see something like that take the whole grid down, because overnight there would be just panic everywhere. In 1859, and this will be my final note, in 1859 when this happened, people all the way down to the South America and the southern latitudes could see the aurora. And you could be out at night, and I guess people were like reading and writing out at night because the aurora was so bright everywhere. And that this is what happens when there's a major, hit from a magnetic storm. So be aware of that. If your lights go out, it's probably no big deal. If your lights go out and you walk outside and there's a major a green sky all around you and you live in a warm area and you're just like, what the hell's going on? That would be your first sign. And that's something it's funny because if that ever did happen, knowing that one thing could be the difference between life and death in my eyes. Because I've always had it in the back of my mind that if there's ever a major blackout and I go outside and I see that in the sky, I will get in my car, I will drive down to the store, I will load up my cart with groceries, go up, get all the emergency food, all the survival food quietly and quickly as I can, and set my credit card on the counter and walk out. I would want to be completely prepared for anything, because that could be a long time to recover. So anyway, that's my ramble. I don't know if this, it says that the CME from this one's supposed to hit, I don't know, I think tomorrow or the next day, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's probably not going to be any major issue. Just something I wanted to talk about because I like the sun. And if like in, X5, X6, X7, the numbers climb up there, and I'm not sure how high they go, but I know that I believe it's kind of like the Richter scale, where they're amplified like 10 times. I'm not sure. But at any rate, a major flare could really F us up. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully not. Never know. Talk to y'all later.